What's up, bro? So I lived at a university for a while, well, near a university. I didn't have any place to go, and my buddies were staying in this rink-a-dink house, and I was living in this little room that was connected to the kitchen. It was connected to the living room. It was right near this dark, damp, moldy basement, and that was a wild time in my life because living right next to a university with three roommates, this was like a huge party school in Ohio. And so as I was living there for the year, this was the first time that I ever got drunk. I ever had any alcohol in my life. I was like 20 at this time. I remember they all left and there were 6 Corona lights in the refrigerator and everyone was gone. It was just me and I was like, let me see how it is to get drunk. And so I drank all 6 beers and then I just went to bed because I don't know, I didn't really feel anything. But during those days, I got invited to parties and we threw house parties. And there was like this nervousness that I had because I was not used to being around so many people. There was a bunch of hot girls walking on the streets everywhere. It was just a crazy time and I had never experienced anything like that. So naturally, I decided to drink and I would drink at the house parties. And instantly, it was like in this chaos, I became more comfortable. I became more talkative. I was inhibited, right? And this lowered my inhibitions. So it lowered my anxieties that I had for going and conversating with all these random people that were at this party. And it was a blast. It was such a blast. I'm sure you guys can relate. You go out, have a few drinks. It's like the city's bright. You're talking to everyone. You're having fun. And that's a lot like life. Like life is just like that. Life is hard. We've talked about life being suffering. The Buddhists talk about it. Life is sort of drab and dark and you can get depressed. And you know what? What do people do? They start drinking. This video is not about getting drunk on alcohol. It's about getting drunk on life. And I'm going to read you guys this quick poem by the French poet. This is Charles Baudelaire. And he said, "Be always drunken. Nothing else matters. That is the only question. If you would not feel the horrible burden of time weighing on your shoulders and crushing you to the earth, be drunken continually." Drunken with what? With wine, with poetry, or with virtue, as you will. But be drunken. And so he says wine, but that's probably not the best idea. We know that alcohol is not that good for you. But poetry, virtue, and there's so many other things that we can be drunken on. Drunken not to escape from life, but to add to this essence of life, to be more involved in life. I look at this as being inspired. Because when you get drunk with alcohol, you actually want to interact with the world around you. And so many of us find ourselves in a dark place. And 2018, there's no major wars going on. We're not going to new planets yet. We've already been to the moon, but nothing crazy is happening. So, the battle is an internal battle for many of us, okay? And part of living a really extravagant life is to get drunk on life itself. And I want to talk to you guys about 4 main things and maybe point out in the comments. I would love for you to tell me, what adds that vigor to your life. How do you get drunk on life? And so the first one is exercise. And exercise, you guys know this. I want all of you guys to lift. If you don't lift, I want you to know that it's one of those things that you can do that will immediately start changing your life. And getting a gym membership is easier than ever. And you see like old guys at my gym, they're the first ones in there. And they've been doing it for years. And they're relentless. And they're doing all this crazy stuff because they know something. They know it's very powerful, man. They know it makes you feel good. The thing about working out too, they say that if you have a workout partner, it actually can increase that happiness. If you have a workout partner, a running partner, and if you work out in nature, that makes you feel really good. Release a lot of oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, all these great hormones that make you feel wonderful. If you look at old-time bodybuilders, Arnold, Franco, what were they doing? They were all working out together. They're all smiling. They're working out at Venice Beach, and they're just having a great time. And that's so awesome, right? And so working out instantly, man, a great way to get drunk, to make you feel inspired. Love is the second one, love. And that initial love, they say, lights up parts of the brain, same as cocaine. Now, love can be a dangerous thing. You can be in love with the wrong person, or you can fall in love and then it fizzles out and you just stay in that relationship just because. And I don't think that's good. So you got to be careful with love, but it can be a great experience. And then you don't got to worry about later on down the road if you continue to nourish that relationship. They say that it turns into compassionate love. It's not as lustful. And in compassionate love, there's less anxiety of the person leaving you or cheating on you. And it becomes someone that you care for and that is helping you through your life. And you're encouraging each other. Let's see how we're doing on time. So moving on there, conversation. And here's a quote. This is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. He says, conversation is an excitement, and the series of intoxications it creates is healthful. We've all had good conversations. We've all, talked about forming a tribe of men that we can converse with, that we can engage in dialogue, that we can be truthful, and we can not just try to best one another, but try to learn and discover new things. And conversation is a great thing because once you get in a good conversation, you're in flow. You're actually present, and you're taking in their eyes, and you're taking in their facial expression and their tonality, and you're picking up all these cues, and you get all this feedback, and so you got to be there, and then you respond, and you just like riff off each other. It's like this music coming together, this beautiful music. It's like riding a motorcycle. You got to be present there and aware of what the other person is saying, not just trying to get your own thoughts out. So conversation is definitely an intoxicant. Back to the whole spirituality thing. I think a lot of people just be aware, be in the now, the power of now, be present always. It's like, according to some great people, that's not the case. You want to be drunk. You want to be filled with life, with inspiration, with poetry, with virtue. And so I think with presence in itself, I'm sort of diverging here, but presence is sort of fundamental at the core so that you can enjoy the things that you're doing. If that's reading a book, if that's conversating, if that's taking a walk or a run on the beach. So that's what presence is for me. That's what Zen is for me. And virtue, and this is kind of a little unfamiliar, I think, but virtue gives you a story, a structured story. There is an ideal end. The Greeks called this telos, and it's to go towards that ideal. And you are questing towards it. Virtues assist you in attaining it, while vices are those qualities that stymie your progress. See, virtue makes you stand for something, like the code of a man. It allows you to stand up for something that you believe in. When you do, you actually, there's more purpose to life. Many Christians, Muslims, they have something that they stand for. That's what religion is. That's why it provides such a hope for the masses of men and women. Now, I'm not very religious, but I think we can all agree, just like that hero that sets out on his journey, we have this ideal man that we want to be. And it's just like that telos, that ideal, that attaining these qualities. And when we have these vices, they stymie our progress. They divert us away from the true goal and our potential. Like we talked yesterday, you have all this potential that you feel inside, you have this fire in the belly that you feel. And that can lead you astray. If too many vices, not enough virtue, not standing for something. And that's one of the reasons my favorite book, The Name of the Wind, it hits that right on the head. It nails the hero's journey, that young progression, a man that stands for something that is better than just what he's been given. He's not just just stuck in the circumstances and what has happened to him, but he keeps going, he keeps moving forward. And so that's the four main ones. We have exercise, love, conversation, and virtue. And so some other ones for me, reading is sort of a deep conversation between the author's thoughts and my thoughts. And I'm kind of bouncing stuff. I'm ricocheting off him and I'm learning. And I love that. The reading's such a intoxicating thing for me that adds a lot of depth to my life. And, I don't know. There's, I want to hear from you. Eating really good helps me too. Eating good makes me know that I feel alive. Ketogenic diet actually can make you feel drunken in a sense. Well, I feel more empathy on a ketogenic diet. We'll be talking about that